Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pods. I am Leonardo.
Whoa! Good morning, students. And I'm Elizabeth.
Today, we are diving into something a little different, like really different.
Different good or different,
Oh, definitely different good. Today, we are exploring an essential topic for anyone looking to excel in English. All right, so we're diving deep today into something I think every parent thinks about a lot, and that is those essential life lessons we want to make sure our kids really absorb and integrate
right.
as they're growing up.
Yeah.
That will help them to navigate the world and build strong relationships and be happy and enjoy their lives. And so you sent some really interesting sources over.
I did. Yeah. We've got 11 life lessons for kids to foster growth. And then we have a really insightful 11 life lessons for students. And then just to make sure that we've got plenty to talk about, 40 positive life lessons to share with your learners by Lee Crockett from Future Focused Learning.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot of lessons.
52, to be exact.
52.
Yeah, which is why you're here to help us suss out,
Yes.
the most important ones and without,
Help us synthesize.
without getting overwhelmed.
Right, exactly. So why don't we start with kind of the foundation?
Okay.
I noticed that two of these sources, Slumberkins and the Ed Central Teacher, both really emphasize this idea of modeling the behavior that we want to see.
Yeah.
So really creating that supportive and safe environment where kids feel heard and respected.
It sounds so simple, but I bet a lot of us, when you're in the thick of it, like on a Tuesday afternoon,
Absolutely.
it's easy to.
It's much harder than it sounds. But here's the thing. The research really backs this up.
Okay.
When you look at early childhood development, those early experiences, the way we interact with our kids has a huge impact on their emotional and social well-being throughout their lives.
Oh, wow.
Like we are literally shaping their brains.
Okay, no pressure.
Right.
But Slumberkins gets really specific about
You do.
treating kids with patience and also admitting to our own mistakes and not shaming them when they mess up. It's like all of that adds up to being able to face challenges without just completely,
losing it.
Yeah, freaking out.
Yeah, and that leads us directly into the idea of fostering a growth mindset.
Okay.
Which Slumberkins also highlights. And it's this idea that instead of saying, I'm bad at this, we want kids to believe that they can get better at anything with effort and that mistakes are just part of learning.
So how do you take like a meltdown over a Lego tower and turn it into a growth moment?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, sometimes I just want to build the thing myself.
Totally. I think it's about coaching rather than rescuing.
Okay.
So instead of, jumping in and saying, oh, you can't do it, you might say, wow, this is a tricky one.
Okay.
But I bet we can figure it out. What if we try a different approach? Okay. And so you're kind of shifting the focus from I can't do it to let's think this through.
So you're shifting the focus from the outcome to the actual process of learning.
Exactly.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Now, all three of these sources talk about empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
Which I think, pretty much everyone agrees is super important.
For sure.
But I liked how Slumberkins kind of breaks it down.
Yeah.
So, empathy is understanding how someone else feels.
Yeah.
And compassion is like taking that understanding and actually doing something.
Right. But taking action.
To help. And they're talking about comforting a friend who's sad or sharing toys or donating clothes you've outgrown or even caring for plants or pets.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, raising nice kids.
Not at all.
It's like.
The research shows that empathy and compassion are linked to stronger relationships.
Wow.
Less bullying. More pro-social behavior. Wow. It's literally making the world a better place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next one from the Ed Central Teacher kind of threw me for a loop.
Okay.
Because 1 minute they're saying, don't trust people just because they say trust me.
Right.
Which seems like pretty good advice.
Yeah.
But then they follow it up with trust people. It's endearing.
It's a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
But I think it gets at this idea that we're not trying to teach our kids to be blindly trusting.
Right.
Or to walk around suspicious of everyone.
Right.
It's more about helping them figure out who to trust and why.
It's more like think critically about people's actions and not just take their word for it.
Yeah, we want them to question things, weigh. The evidence makes smart judgments.
Right.
It's a balancing act.
Totally a skill that'll serve them well, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So moving on. I noticed that Ed Central and future-focused learning had some interesting things to say about happiness. It's not all about, getting straight A's and winning trophies.
It's not.
Right.
No. The Ed Central teacher talks about finding work that you enjoy and making memories that matter.
Yeah.
And then future-focused learning goes even deeper and talks about self-love, gratitude, choosing your thoughts and feelings.
So it's like finding that internal motivation to do things.
Yes.
Because they matter to you.
Exactly.
Not because someone else expects you to.
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
That's it.
But how do you even help kids find that in a world where there's so much pressure to achieve?
I think it starts with us.
Okay.
If we're constantly chasing external validation, our kids are going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
But if we show them that it's okay to be passionate about things that might not be conventionally successful, that's a really powerful lesson.
So maybe instead of stressing over soccer practice, I'll just break out the Play-Doh and
There you go.
we'll just...
I think you both would enjoy that more.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Now, future-focused learning said something that I think a lot of parents probably struggle with.
Okay.
Learn the best ways to say the words no and enough.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Because, you want to raise kids who are polite and respectful.
Of course.
But also know how to stand up for themselves.
Absolutely.
It's kind of
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one.
But setting boundaries is absolutely crucial
for
healthy relationships.
Okay.
It's about self-respect, recognizing that your needs and feelings are valid. And it's a skill that takes practice.
So how do we even begin to teach that?
I think, honestly, the best way to teach this is to model it ourselves.
Okay.
Show them what it looks like to say no respectfully, to set limits in a way that's firm but kind.
Okay.
And don't underestimate the power of role-playing.
Okay.
Practice different scenarios.
Like what to do if someone's pressuring you to do something you don't want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give them a script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now future-focused learning also made a point that I thought was really appropriate for our discussion today.
Okay.
And that is to honor everyone who ever taught you something valuable.
Yes.
And I just want to say to you, the listener, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for caring enough about your child's development to, dig into these topics. And it really does bring up a good point that learning is a lifelong process.
It is.
That never really ends. There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. Okay, so welcome back for round 2 of our life lessons deep dive.
Yes.
We're ready to tackle even more wisdom.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, well, building on that foundation that we talked about in part 1, I noticed that both Slumberkins and Ed Central kind of hit on this idea of responsibility.
Okay.
And not just, doing your chores.
Right.
But really understanding that actions have consequences.
It's like that whole owning your mistakes.
Yes, instead of blaming other people.
Right. Yeah, which even adults have trouble with.
All the time.
Yeah.
But I think the key is to start small. Slumberkins suggests things like giving kids age-appropriate chores, praising them when they admit that they messed up, giving them a little more independence with things like getting ready in the morning.
Okay.
All of that kind of adds up to that sense of, I can do this. So we're creating like mini CEOs over here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but seriously, that sense of ownership can extend beyond just personal stuff.
Okay.
The Ed Central teacher talks about making wise choices.
Yeah.
Thinking about how your actions impact other people.
So it's like laying the groundwork for good citizenship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this ties in really nicely with another big theme that runs through all 3 of these sources.
Okay.
Respect.
Okay.
Slumberkins makes this really interesting connection between self-respect and the ability to set boundaries.
So if you don't respect yourself, you're more likely to kind of let people walk all over you?
I think so.
Yeah.
When kids understand their own worth, they're more likely to stick up for themselves and to say no to bad influences.
Okay.
And then on the flip side, when they respect other people, they treat them well too.
Yeah.
It's
it's a chain reaction.
Yes.
Good stuff.
I love that.
Okay, so obviously we all want our kids to be kind. But I was curious to see how these sources actually tackle that concept.
Yeah. Well, Slumberkins and future-focused learning had some great ideas.
Okay.
Slumberkins suggested things like baking cookies for a neighbor or making a comfy bed for shelter animals or even just expressing appreciation to the people that they love.
Okay.
It's about making kindness a verb, not just a feeling.
It's showing them that like even small actions can have
a big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that leads into this idea of generosity. Which a lot of these sources talked about. And it's not just about stuff, like giving away old toys. It's about being generous with your time, your energy, even your attention.
It's like that quote I saw somewhere, being present is the greatest gift you can give someone.
It's beautiful.
I know, right?
It's so true.
So true.
Okay, so let's talk about honesty.
Right.
Slumberkins talks about how trust is the foundation of any relationship, and that dishonesty can totally wreck that.
Yeah, but it's hard because when kids are little,
yes,
they realize that lying can get them out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tempting.
Yeah.
Slumberkins had a cool suggestion about using games to teach about honesty and fairness.
Okay.
So it's low pressure. Kids can kind of experiment with making these choices.
Right.
It's not such a big deal.
Yeah, it's like sneaking in a moral lesson while they're having fun.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, so beyond these like big picture character traits, were there any like practical life skills that these sources recommended?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Time management came up a lot.
Okay.
Slumberkins suggests things like establishing a daily routine.
Okay.
Using visual schedules, breaking down tasks into smaller chunks.
Now, that's something that I think a lot of us could use.
You too.
Yeah.
But teaching kids these skills early on can really save them so much stress and overwhelm down the road.
Yeah.
It's about building those good habits. And kind of along those same lines, Slumberkins and future-focused learning both emphasize the importance of problem solving.
Okay, but how do you do that without just like giving them the answers all the time?
Right. Well, Slumberkins suggests that instead of jumping into fix things, you ask open-ended questions that kind of help them think it through themselves.
Okay.
What are some different ways we could approach this?
Great.
What are the pros and cons of each option?
So we're acting as their problem-solving coach.
Exactly.
The superhero who swoops in and fixes everything.
Yes, I love that.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of guidance, effective communication is obviously a big one.
Yeah, of course.
Slumberkins kind of focused on the basics, active listening, showing genuine interest in what your kids have to say, making it safe for them to share their feelings.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. But then future-focused learning added another layer that I thought was really interesting. Choosing your thoughts and feelings.
So that's like having that internal control.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we don't have to be victims of our emotions. Right. We can choose how we respond to situations, even difficult ones.
So you're teaching them that they have the power to kind of shift their mindset?
Exactly.
Even when things are tough?
Yes, and that's such a valuable skill that'll serve them well.
Absolutely.
This whole deep dive has really highlighted the importance of resilience.
Totally.
Being able to bounce back from challenges and keep going.
Yeah.
And future-focused learning had a pretty powerful statement about this.
Okay.
They said some of our most valuable lessons actually come from times of deep emotion and conflict.
Wow.
It's like those hard knocks actually shape who we are.
So it's not something to be afraid of.
Right.
It's actually something to embrace as an opportunity for growth.
I love that.
Yeah. It's like those challenges are the weightlifting sessions that make your emotional muscles.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. But it's not just about, gritting your teeth and powering through.
It's not.
Future-focused.
Yeah.
Learning also talks about the importance of self-love and acceptance.
Yes.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others.
Exactly. And that includes teaching our kids to embrace who they are, flaws, and to recognize their inherent worthiness.
I think that's one of the most important gifts that we can give them.
Yes.
That just like unshakable sense of self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about gratitude and appreciation.
Okay.
Another theme that popped up a lot.
Yeah.
Future-focused learning suggests things like keeping a gratitude journal.
Okay.
Or just taking a moment each day to notice the good things in your life.
I actually tried that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I was writing down 3 things I was grateful for every night before I went to bed.
Oh, that's great.
And it really made a difference.
I bet.
I just felt like calmer and more content.
That's great. And it's such a simple practice to kind of incorporate into your family life.
Yeah, even like a gratitude moment at the dinner table or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like training your brain to focus on the positive.
Yes.
Which can be so easy to
overlook.
Yeah, overlook when life gets busy and hectic.
For sure. And speaking of hectic,
Yeah.
let's talk about patience.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all know that feeling of wanting to scream when you're stuck in traffic or waiting in a long line.
Totally. Or like when your kid's taking forever to get their shoes on.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Slumberkins actually had a really cool tip for this.
Okay.
Use those everyday waiting moments as mini opportunities to practice patience.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So instead of letting those moments turn into like frustration explosions, we can help our kids develop the ability to just chill out and kind of go with the flow.
That's like mindfulness training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of mindfulness, future-focused learning really emphasizes this idea of being present. So savoring the moment.
Yeah.
Appreciating the beauty in the ordinary.
Yeah.
Finding peace amidst the chaos.
It sounds so idyllic. But how do you actually teach kids to do that?
I know.
When they're bombarded with so much stimulation all the time.
I think it starts with us.
Okay.
If we're constantly, checking our phones and rushing from one thing to the next, they're going to pick up on that frantic energy.
Totally.
But if we model being present, taking time to really connect with them, that's a powerful lesson.
Put down the phone.
Yes.
And listen to their story about the ladybug they saw for the 100th time.
That's right. Those little moments of connection are so important.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I have to say this has been an incredibly insightful dive so far.
We've covered so much.
We're here.
From responsibility and respect to kindness and gratitude, all the way to these practical skills like time management and problem solving.
I know. And we've still got more to unpack.
I can't believe it.
In part 3, we'll explore some final key themes and really talk about how you can start putting all of these insights into action with your little ones, so don't go anywhere.
Okay, so we're back for our final installment of Life Lessons.
I know, it's like the grand finale.
I feel like we should all get diplomas or something.
I know, it's been quite a journey.
It really has. But we still have some really good stuff to cover.
Yes.
Especially from future-focused learning.
Yeah.
Lee Crockett really goes deep on this idea of embracing individuality,
Right.
Being you is enough.
Yes.
Which is such a simple message.
It is.
But so profound.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where everyone's trying to fit in.
Totally.
So how do we help our kids resist that pressure,
I think it starts with celebrating their uniqueness.
Okay.
Those quirky things that make them them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe your kid isn't the star athlete, but they can make you laugh till you cry. Acknowledge those strengths, those passions that light them up. Help them see that those are just as valuable as any trophy or award.
So it's like valuing authenticity over conformity.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that leads nicely into another point from future-focused learning that I found really interesting.
Okay.
This idea of finding your purpose.
Okay.
So Crockett talks about figuring out what you do well, maybe even what you rock at.
Okay.
And then striving to master those things.
Okay.
It's about channeling your talents into something that feels meaningful.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the typical path to success, quote unquote.
I think sometimes we as parents get so caught up in like what we think our kids should be doing that we forget to even ask them.
I agree.
What they want to do, what lights them up.
Yeah, and sometimes those passions might surprise us. Maybe they're not destined to be a doctor or a lawyer, but they're obsessed with building robots. Who knows? Maybe that's where the next big breakthrough comes from.
Totally. So it's about supporting their journey, even if it looks different from what we had in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
Another theme that came up in both Ed Central and future-focused learning is the importance of strong relationships.
Yes.
We all need that support system.
Of course.
Those people who have our backs.
Absolutely.
The Ed Central teacher talked about, surrounding yourself with people who love and support you.
Right.
But future-focused learning adds this really important caveat.
Okay.
Which is being willing to walk away from relationships that don't feel good.
That's right. It's a hard lesson.
It is a hard lesson.
But a crucial one.
Yeah.
We need to teach our kids that they deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, and that it's okay to set boundaries even with people they care about.
It's like teaching them to recognize those red flags and then having the courage to actually say, this isn't working for me.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of self-awareness and strength, which ties in really nicely with another point that future-focused learning brought up.
Okay.
Self-care.
Okay.
We've talked about taking care of our mental and emotional well-being, but it's also about the physical stuff.
Right.
Exercising, eating well, getting enough sleep.
It all goes back to you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to take care of ourselves if we want to be the best parents and partners and just humans.
And it's also about modeling those healthy habits.
Yes.
For our kids, because they're watching.
They are always watching. So make that doctor's appointment, go for that run, eat your veggies, and get some sleep.
Your kids are taking notes.
They are.
All right, so as we wrap up this epic life lessons adventure,
yes,
I want to come back to something that Future Focused Learning said that really resonated with me.
Okay.
And that is to embrace the journey.
Yes.
Life rarely goes according to plan.
It rarely does.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. It's about finding the joy in the unexpected, learning from our missteps, appreciating the ride. That's such a good point, just like letting go of the need to control everything.
Yes.
Just be
present in the moment.
That's it. And encourage that same mindset in our kids.
Yeah.
Let them explore. Let them make mistakes. Let them discover who they're meant to be, even if it takes a few detours along the way.
And remember, dear listener, you're on this journey too.
Yes, you are.
You know, you're learning and growing right alongside your child.
That's right.
And as Future Focused Learning pointed out, some of our most profound lessons come from those hard knock moments.
It's true. So as we leave you with one final thought, I'll ask you this.
Okay.
What's one challenge that you've faced in your own life? One lesson that you learned the hard way that you can now use to guide your child more gently through similar terrain?
That's a really good question to think about.
Yeah, and as you ponder that, I encourage you to revisit those 52 life lessons that we've explored over these last 3 parts.
Yeah.
Pick one or two that really resonate with you and start putting them into practice.
Yeah.
Remember, even small steps can make a huge difference.
It's been such a great deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in, and we will see you next time for another deep dive.